The phone rang just after breakfast. I could hear her before I answered, the tremor in her voice, the sharp intake of breath that betrayed more than words ever could. "So, how were the chocolates?" I smiled, calm, controlled. "Oh, I gave them to your kids. They love sweets." Silence. Then a scream that sliced through the quiet of my apartment. "You did what?" Her voice shook, caught somewhere between shock and rage. I set the phone down, savoring the moment. Not because of malice, but because justice tastes sweet. It wasn't always this way. I remember the first time I met her, her laugh filling the room, the warmth she radiated. My wife's sister. She had been nothing but charm and candor, a presence that seemed harmless, even delightful. We'd joked, shared confidences, little secrets over coffee, and I'd trusted her. How naive that trust had felt. The cracks appeared subtly at first. Little comments about my wife when she wasn't around. Compliments laced with double meanings. Invitations I never accepted. Messages I shouldn't have seen. Hints of a life where I had no place. A misplaced glance, a lingering touch, I caught them all. I remember the night I found the message, the one she thought I'd never see. It wasn't explicit, but it was enough. Enough to unravel my certainty, enough to ignite a fire I had never known I possessed. Betrayal is sharpest when it comes wrapped in familiarity. But I didn't explode. I didn't confront her with tears or shouting. I let the anger settle, let it crystallize into something precise, something strategic. I realized then that revenge wasn't about chaos, it was about control. It was about letting her realize on her own exactly what she had lost. I planned carefully. The legal intricacies first. I reviewed accounts, contracts, obligations. I discovered leverage in the most mundane places, turning casual knowledge into tools. Socially, I positioned myself subtly, ensuring she'd notice my assent while remaining blind to my preparation. Emotionally, I kept a neutral mask, smiled at her jokes, nodded at her triumphs, all the while mapping the day she would stumble. The execution was quiet, nothing dramatic, nothing overt. Just a series of deliberate, intelligent steps, each one designed to erode her sense of control. She thought she was untouchable, confident that her manipulations went unnoticed. And she was, until the final move. That box of chocolates, innocent, handmade, sweet, was the last touch. A gesture that appeared kind, innocent, even generous. Delivered with care, then redirected. To the children. Her own children. I remember dialing her number, the phone heavy in my hand. I could hear her voice poised yet probing as she asked again, "So, how were the chocolates?" I let the silence stretch, the pause thick with anticipation. "Oh," I said, deliberately calm, "I gave them to your kids. They love sweets." The silence shattered. I could hear her breathing hitch, the scream that followed. "You did what?" I didn't answer. I let her unravel in real time. Let her feel the sting of betrayal reflected back at her. The perfect irony. She had built a web of deception, only to be ensnared in her own carelessness. Her downfall wasn't violent, it wasn't humiliating in public, but it was exacting, precise. She realized as she screamed and sputtered that the boundaries she thought she controlled were gone. Her power, her subtle manipulations, her advantage, all of it had slipped through her fingers. I hung up before she could recover. There was no gloating, no malicious laughter, only calm, measured satisfaction. The weight I'd carried for months, the anger, the hurt, the shock of betrayal dissolved into clarity. Control had returned to me, not through vengeance for its own sake, but through justice executed with intelligence and restraint. I walked to the window, looking down at the street below, sunlight striking the glass in brilliant patterns. It felt peaceful, empowering. She had underestimated me, and I had turned her underestimation into a lesson. Not cruelty, but precision. And in that silence, I realized the truth. Betrayal is corrosive, but revenge, when done with thought and strategy, is liberating. I hadn't just responded to her treachery, I had risen above it. I had taken what she valued, redirected it, and left her to confront the consequences of her own choices. The phone sat on the counter, still warm from the call. I didn't need it anymore. I had my answer.